Hey guys, happy Saturday to everybody out there. Krista, how you doing today?
I'm good. We're backwards though. You need to flip us.
Okay. Oops.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
I need my usual spot. I felt out of whack.
I think I hit yours first and then me.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
all backwards lately.
Yeah,
I'm just excited to have Will Lunsford on the show tonight.
absolutely.
You talk about a great guest, and I'm not saying that because he just sat down and he can hear me right now. But you talk about a great guest. I mean,
Yeah, he's actually one of our favorite people.
Yeah,
He really is.
I agree. Before we get to Will, we have a few things to do. I want to say hi to a few people. Actually, right off the bat, I want to thank T-Bone. Thank you, brother.
Yep. Thanks,
Appreciate you for
T-Bone.
becoming a member. I think all of a sudden I'm getting quite a bit. That's awesome. I like this. So, welcome everybody. Hi, Denise. Hi, Amber. Hi, Val. Kim's here. Val, Gary Spikes Sr. How you doing, sir? Denise, Roger Blair, Amy Creel. What did you have for dinner tonight, Amy? Little Patty, Jason Finch, Blondes and Boots. Oh, that's you. It's been a long day. It's been a very long day.
That's okay.
Yes. So hope everybody's having a good time. Thanks for joining us today. Real quick, before we get to Will, because normally I do a little bit of music before the countdown and the open. I wanted to get into this. So we do have, and I'm sure you all have heard the about the conference. So let's go ahead and throw this up here right now. Let me take that off. Okay. So make sure you save the date. Crossing Realms Conference. Thank you, BMR, for the title. September 19th and 20th next year. It's going to be in Richmond, Missouri. It's going to be an awesome time. So, Krista, why don't you tell them about the schedule events and while I look up the speakers that we have.
I just sent you the speakers.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So on Friday night, we're going to do a meet and greet, and it's just going to be like a pizza type thing. And Saturday is the conference during the day, and then that evening we have a ghost hunt at the Ray County Museum, and we're doing it. Part of it as a benefit for the Ray County Museum. So.
And what an awesome place to benefit. So, I mean, it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
So get scheduled speakers, tickets. Did you say tickets when tickets go on sale?
Tickets will be on sale December 1st through Eventbrite, and it's actually under Blondes and Booze Eventbrite. However, everybody is helping with this. It's just we happen to have an Eventbrite account.
Yes. So scheduled to appear, Mr. Greg Ogles, Haunted Souls and Haunted Garage, Ron Murphy, Anne Celine, Dr. Dean Bertram, Heather Moser, Josh Hurd, Ken Gerhart, and Dana Stricker, and Chris Jordan will be there as well. And then we have some guy named Will Lunsford. I don't know if anybody knows.
Yeah. Sure do.
So guys, make sure you get your tickets December 1st. It'll be fantastic. And for the ghost hunt that night, that's going to be separate from the payment for the conference. And we only have a limited amount of tickets for the ghost hunt, correct?
We're only going to sell 16 tickets.
Yeah. So, and
usually, we sell up to, 30, 35, but we figured there's going to be a long, a lot of people over there that night. So we don't want to overcrowd it.
And then we'll have all the celebrities guest hunting.
Whoever one of them want to come and go. So I know Heather Mosier from Small Town Monsters said she wanted to. Anne Celine did. So there's several. I know Dana Stricker will. Yeah, there's several that will. So it's up to them.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's going to be a ton of fun. So like I said, make sure you get your tickets soon for that. So without further ado, I want to bring up Mr. Will.
Hey, everybody. How are y'all?
Welcome
to be here with y'all. Thank you so much. And everybody who's listening, thank you as well. And it means a lot. I don't take your presence for granted here. It's very much cherished, very much appreciated. And again, a thanks also to our veterans who have made things like this possible, that we can do what we're doing right here. So thank you to everybody. Thank y'all for having me on here. You know how much I appreciate it. I've had a case of TMJ. So everybody that's thinking, oh gosh, this guy's going to talk 2 hours, we'll probably go about maybe 30 minutes. No, we won't. I will do sign language. So glad to be here with y'all. Thank you so much.
All right, so I got about 30 minutes to get a signer to come in here to translate all this stuff, right? Awesome. Well, Will, I'm glad you're feeling better. And first thing I want to do, and we'll do this probably again later on. You have this unbelievable book, "Searching for the Unfindable: My Quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot," and it's chock full of your encounter stories and encounter stories from friends, even strangers you have in there, and stuff when you were on your UPS route and everything.
Exactly.
So, talk a little bit. I know you've talked a lot about your book on other shows and stuff, but talk about the labor of love that you put into this. And guys, go grab his book. I mean, you'll know that it's a labor of love, and he just loves doing this, and he's good at what he does.
I really do. Like I said, appreciate everybody being here. This is not a show where we're going to sit here and BS you and try to increase y'all's ratings, trying to increase my book sales necessarily. We want everybody to know for sure that, folks, Bigfoot is a real entity that's out there. And I've been doing it since 1977. And I wasn't going to write a book. I had a first encounter in 77, the second one in 1985. And then as I began working at UPS, actually driving, and I was get where I could talk to people there and kind of fish for stories, so to speak, and I get some different kind of responses. But all of a sudden, man, people are like, I'd tell them what had happened to me. They're, you need to write a book, because I fish a lot. And then being at UPS, it was a union job, so I was able to bid the area that I wanted. I'm down around what's called Sulphur River in Arkansas and part of Texas, and it's where there's a creature called the Legend of Boggy Creek, where that show was actually filmed, where that show actually occurred. And so the more I learned, and I learned upon people I accidentally had some boat. If you'll read my book there, you'll read one story about an older couple that was down there peeping like baby birds. They didn't run out of gas and got lost. And so they were, when I got down, I said, how'd you guys get lost? Well, now that they felt better, they're like, the guy goes, well, if I knew that, I guess I got lost, would I? I'm sorry. Well, let's see if you can find your way back. But I didn't. I'm not that kind of person. But he was being I think he was kind of trying to regain his wavering manhood in front of his wife there, which is fine, because this is a scary situation. So I told them back, and they said, we didn't want to tell us what happened to that guy last week. And I said, what happened? This place that we go to is called Mercer Bayou. There's been actually some murder suicides and things like that. It's very, very deep woods. There's alligators all over the place. But anyway, couldn't find out a guy was doing, and I happened to meet him later on. And whenever I did, a very, very believable guy. Like I said, he likes to fish. He works a place here in Texas County called Cooper Tire, which is a big business, and he's very well thought of out there. And he said, man, I was down there fishing. He saw suddenly here's something walking up through the brush, and he said, I see a pair of hands go into the brush and pull it sideways. And he said, out comes a monkey face, is exactly what he said. And he said, man, I'm 20 feet from the bank. He said, I was scared to death. He took that trolling motor and turned it around, got back into the canal, and he left. So that was what had happened to this here that these people were talking about. And so with that right there, we laughed. I told him back in, and it wasn't too far after that. We had a place where they would, Sulphur River's full of trash fish, gar, carp, buffalo, and things like that. But it's got some good fish in there. But Game Fish Commission has to go through and use what's called rotenone. Rotenone takes away the oxygen, lets some of these what we call quote trash fish die, so that you can have some game fish in there. And what they do, they let these fish are not wasted. They let people come in there with nets and things like that. And so when they come to the top, they can actually scoop them up. It keeps it from being a stench on the water, and also from being wasted. So I'm down there one night, and I'm fixing to go out there in the water, and here comes two guys running down this canal, man, like Katie by the door. And they actually just ran up onto the daggum gravel bar there right beside where the boat ramp is. And I said, man, I said, you guys, kidding with us, I said, you guys must be in a hurry. And I said, you already got your limit? Nope. And you can have this place and every blank fish in it. And I'm like, oh man, what's happened? I didn't know. He said, yeah, we was down in a place called Twin Sloughs. And then there's two sloughs right just side by side, and they go in there, they're built almost exactly the same. Of course, like I said, being nighttime, they figure the further they get off the bayou there, the main channel, the better their chances are to have you'll get a good mess of fish. So they hear something back there splashing as they're on in there. So they head down their way. A little flat bottom boat, like I said, they've got the little miners hats that's got the little lights that are on top. And so they're scooting, they're getting ready. The guy gets the net and everything big on net, and all of a sudden he looks up, and when he does, he's looking at Bigfoot about 7.5 foot tall, a big brown one. And so the thing looks at them, and of course they don't know what to say. I'm sure they were not a believer in Bigfoot at that time. And man, all of a sudden, the thing reached down with his hand in the water, splashed a little water, and just kind of hissed at him like what a cat does when he's mad. But they said it was very, very, very intimidating. So man said they, cranked up the engine and took off running back, and they didn't slow the engine down until they got back to the boat ramp. So anyway, they said, we'll tell you where you are. So you can have every fish in here, and everyone that we were going to get, and everyone you can have. So anyway, I kind of got a laugh out of that, but realized right then that these things do happen down there. And I had known about it for a long, long time. And so that's kind of how it got started there. And then working at UPS and to say that, everybody says, well, curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought him back. So I'm not afraid to sit there and ask questions.
Yeah.
And I would deliver to some of these people that live way off in the woods there, like I said, right along the Sulphur River. And I'm like, golly, man, you guys live so far in the country. If Bigfoot don't live down here, it's because it's too far for him to walk. I think I've told you all the story, but one lady goes up and she goes, if you think that, you need to be here at dark. Well, like I said, that kind of just got me, kind of fired up a little bit and then quit. So I said, well, I'm afraid of the dark. And she goes, oh, well, you should be. And I'm like, oh, I got to know more about this. So anyway, she invited me coming back, but I never did get the opportunity. I changed UPS routes. So,
oh man.
But anyway, so it's one of those things that I would, some of these stories you come across are so good. Like I said, I saw two from a UPS truck in 35 years there. It was the only two I ever saw. But then, like I said, I'm looking at the road more so than the woods and everything. But you're getting these stories from people. And especially when I got to deliver to Falk, Arkansas. Falk is the home of, quote, the Falk Monster, the legend of Boggy Creek. And I was so excited to finally get to go down there because, I'm going to find out all kinds of stories. Man, I got down there. I couldn't get nobody to talk to me. And I said, man, you guys ever seen the creature? They just kind of look at me, and where's that package from? They kind of change the subject. Well, be about the third or fourth time I'd be down there. They'd be like, well, you remember the first time you ever came down here and you asked me that question? I said, yeah, about ever seen the creature? They go, yeah, well, let me tell you a story. So here they go. So they start telling the stories. And the stories some of them were just so, they're not unbelievable. I tell people, I told Daniel, our friend, the other day, I said, down here, Daniel, I'm believing now that most people have a harder time believing in Bigfoot when they're sitting there staring at one than they do than hearing the stories. And the stories I'm getting from these people when they're looking at these things, just the way they're responding. So that's kind of one of these things when I talk to these people and they tell me this story. And so, again, it got better and better and better. It also helped me become a better and better researcher by learning these things that I realized, what were you guys doing? Man, I was just out there, cutting hay in my field. Well, I was sitting out there and I was out there feeding the chickens or something like that. And realize that these things, as smart as they are, they love to observe us doing what we do. And I met a guy last Friday night. I'd known him for a long time, but he knew I was a believer in Bigfoot, but he never would tell me where he was. He said, well, let me tell you the truth. He said, I was down there last year, and they were down there doing some coon hunting. And so he said, they're down right, the water's kind of flooded down there, and they got the dogs running the dogs. And he said, they walked by a big old tree, and he said, all of a sudden, something does about the same thing what it did the hiss with him. He said, and it blew hot breath on the back of his neck. And he said, man, he turned around and saw the shadow there and said he just took off running. He didn't care where he went. He just didn't want to be there. But he said, I realized that thing, he said, it was almost like he was chuckling at me, like, man, look at what I did to this guy, got him out here. So that they're really interested in us and what they do. And to get stories like that. And I'm going to put that in my next book. I've got another book called, coming here. It's called Bigfoot, Searching for the Unfindable, Finding the Impossible. And I'm going to include that and maybe one or two more stories of people that I have that is really just so good. I don't want to leave out there because I don't want to leave the stories untold. You can't ever tell when the one tip that you get is going to be the one that helps you or somebody else to have an encounter. And I've been very blessed to do that. And like I said, I live right here in the 4 states here called Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. And man, we're just so many of these beings are around here. and we got mountains, we've got swamps, we've got rivers. You've been down there before. Matter of fact, let me give you a story where we went down there to the boat ramp down there that time.
Yeah.
Last week, I was doing some work with a group called Law Bigfoot Research, and they're doing a documentary called Searching for the Boggy Creek Legend. And so we went down and I was having to do a book signing, so I was just having to kind of pop in and out right there. But so we went that night and put out some recorders. So it was actually, I think we got 2 recorders, and then we put out 2 cameras. And so me having to leave with the book signing, I didn't go with them too later on together. Whenever they were sitting down there on the boat ramp that you and I have been to, all of a sudden the rocks start flying, you know. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Right where we were that night?
Right where we were that night. And so,
well, if you remember, though, we heard some things in the woods.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I sure do. And that's what it was, I'm sure, because that's where me and Stephen had to come upon us first night we ever went down there to Mercer Bayou. I've had 2 sightings. I had a sighting of mama and twins there. Had a sighting of 3 that were crossing about 3 years ago. And then my son and Stephen were down there one night with me and Stephen's daughter were one team, and Stephen and my son were the other. And Stephen got to see a mama with 2 twins down there. So it's really, really incredible like that. But so sure enough, whenever they go back again Sunday night to go get the cameras and the recorders out of there, sure enough, the rocks start flying again. And, you know, that's more of a woodsy area. Finding a rock is like finding a diamond, you know, in some places. But they're actually getting the rocks pelted out and everything. So they're very, very excited about that. Real good guys, good researchers. Again, Texas Law Research, you got a chance to go look up some of their stuff. Really do. Very, very good people, very smart technically. And I got to meet a man that I friended about 6 years ago, and we'd never had a chance to meet or even talk. And so sure enough, he comes with him this time, shook hands, you know, and said, well, yes, I friended you about 6 years ago, if you remember that. And he goes, well, I do. He said, we just never got a chance to talk. He's very, 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 very educated in the Bigfoot subject. And so we sit there, and where we leave, it's like we had just recovered a long lost friendship as best friends. So he was very, very, very knowledgeable, and so got to visit with him, and so that was really good as well. I'm not going to out him, although I know he doesn't. You know, he doesn't mind, but I'm just, you know, I'd rather let them, you know, tell who it is. But anyway, he was with this text lock group, so really, really, really. Well, he won't mind. His name's John Dickey. He used to work some with you've heard of the group there that they have that's called NAWAC, North American Wood Ape. Well, you know, it used to be Bigfoot Research Conservancy there, but he's changed out of that. So he has gotten out of that. But John's very, very good researcher, very knowledgeable. He and I sat there around the campfire on film for with the group there for the documentary and talk about some of the encounters. And they're like, man, you guys act like long lost friends. I said, well, I guess we are. It's been 6 years getting together. Just he's very, 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 very fun man to talk to. Had so much good experience. So we really enjoyed that. And that's been what I've been doing that. And again, with the book signing. And so then last Friday night, when I heard that story there from the guy there, I'd known him for a long time. He owns an auto parts store in Atlanta, Texas. And for him to say that story, that he says basically the same thing we did. He said, we're their entertainment. Said it was like the thing was amused. That it had gotten that kind of reaction from him, you know. So really, really cool. And
and you know, you talk about, you know, you just got to sit there, and because they are curious, they will come to you. So there's a location that we did a ghost investigation. I was telling you about the howl we captured. So the owners and the teams that are running it, they're wanting to do like more on the cryptid side of things and look for things and go through the woods. It's like, guys, we don't have to. Let's just do a fire out there and you know, sit back and maybe, you know, just talk, tell ghost stories or whatever. And I said, I guarantee you they'll come to us.
Oh, they will. There's no doubt about it. When you're sitting there, they're so curious. They did that a couple of years ago in probably about 5 years ago. They're in Honolulu, where they have the Bigfoot conference in Honolulu, Oklahoma. And sure enough, one of them came around the campfire they had out there on the first night, and sure enough, they could hear the Bigfoot out there screaming and stuff like that. And let me add right here too, with the time that the tickets are going on sale, folks, what a great Christmas gift for somebody. If you've never been to a Bigfoot conference, you're not talking to a bunch of idiots, man. You're talking to some guy. You take me out of the picture, y'all know I'm a cut up, man. Like I said, I've even got a new part here. It's about 6 inches wide. But nevertheless, these are really good people. And if you have any knowledge at all, or any, you know, thinking about getting Bigfoot, you can get it from these people here that always tend to be very good in wanting to share share their knowledge at. So if you get a chance, like I said, do come. And also, all you people say, "Oh well, here we go with ghosts." So let me tell you something. I'm a Bible believer since I was since before then. But I became a Christian when I was 13 years old. One place in the Bible, Jesus has got the men up there and they're in the upper room, and so he comes in and they see him. They didn't even see him open the door. He walks to the wall and they go, "Oh man, we thought you were a spirit." Jesus didn't say, "Hey, there's no such thing as ghosts." He didn't say there's no such thing as spirits. What Jesus said is a spirit doesn't have flesh and bones. Hey, for the being that created us all, for him to give that kind of testimony instead of just say, "Oh, well, there's no such thing," but to say it doesn't have flesh and bones, to me, that's credence that they do exist, and I know they do. So again, that's something. If you're not into ghosts, I've actually worked at a haunted restaurant one time, and boy, I'll tell you what, I had some encounters out there that really, really just stirred me up. Here in Arkansas, we have probably the most haunted hotel in America. It's called the Crescent Hotel up there in Red Springs. My next door neighbor got to go up there, and I said, "Well, did you get to stay in the room?" He goes, "Oh yeah." And I said, "Well, how long did you stay in the room?" He goes, "Not long." So it is. It's something here. There's things in this world we don't understand that we can't.
Well, I have a question for you, real quick, Will.
Sure.
So when you come up and you speak at the conference, we are doing a ghost hunt that evening for the Ray County Museum, which the buildings are right next to each other, where the conference is and the ghost hunt, the museum. Are you going to come over and do some ghost hunting with us?
I'll be glad to if I get the invitation. I sure will. Because
you have the invitation, of course you do.
You know, I love to talk, but I've got those experiences out there at the haunted restaurant were flat scary. I mean, they really were. And we had my son and I have actually seen what's called a shadow person as we were going Bigfoot hunting one night. And so the thing actually was right outside the door. We opened it, and it just starts walking, and it walks right down into just plain ground. And I've already reached for my pistol because I could see the shadow. I thought it was somebody out there. So, folks, I'm not crazy. I'm telling you the truth. Hopefully, y'all know me that I am truthful. And I just want to share this with you because sometimes it's like unburdening it off my shoulders because, man, I carry it with me. You can't, you tell people and they want to laugh at you sometimes and stuff like that. I was telling our friend Daniel there, we were talking about being a Bigfoot researcher. He said, yeah, everybody thinks that everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame. And I said, yeah, Daniel, but what they don't know is 14 of those 15 minutes is ridicule. Who wants that, And so, that's the honest truth. So, but I do this to share with everybody. And I do have the experience. I've got, let's see, 1977. So I've got 47 years worth of research and experience here. And I've got the place here that will, it's one of the best Bigfoot areas in this whole United States. Absolutely. The place that we have called Ground Zero, it's amazing. Like I said, we can truly go out there, and that's what I'm kind of basing my book on, finding the impossible. We actually have a place that we can go and expect to have an encounter nearly every time that we go there, and that's the honest truth. And my buddy Steven ain't never told a lie in his life, and he'll vouch for me on that right there. Daniel came down; he's been down twice. He's gotten pictures every time that we go down. He's got that aura around him too that they enjoy coming around watching. So it is. It's really a great thing when you get to learn about it. And the stories, the researchers that you guys are going to have there. I mean, I always think, rats, why have I got to go out here and speak? I want to hear these guys talk, And so because you learn a whole lot. So learn something from these guys and from me. But again, man, at Christmas time, I've been to a bunch of these things, and it's worth every penny that you go. I promise you. Even your children, it's not there to scare your kids. It's there to enlighten you as to what to do. I've got guys here in Texarkana. Some of them are some of the most prominent businessmen in Texarkana. They just like this being deer season. They've been deer hunting. They kill a deer. They're sitting there looking. Something comes, grabs their deer, and takes off walking. Well, then they're trying to follow it, find out what it is. All of a sudden, they see this big old black shadow, and they're like, "Oh, heck, man! This orange shirt, this orange vest and orange hat's coming off. If he's keeping up with that, I'm taking it off." And so again, that's one of those things that you hear about, the Bigfoot actually capturing people's deer right after they kill them. It's almost like a doggone dinner bell. I had one do me that way in Saratoga, Arkansas, probably 10 years ago. And he got my 7-point, real nice deer. And boy, I was very disappointed. Probably the best horn type deer I'd ever had. He picked it up. I found it a week later, piled on top. There's a pile of 5 bodies right there, piled on top of that stack right there. So man, they have a way of thinking what's yours is theirs and what's theirs is theirs. deers. If you shoot,
Right.
if you shoot a deer, you've just donated it to the Feed the Bigfoot cause. You know,
Maybe it was just trying to field dress it for you, so you just take it clean, didn't have to worry about dragging it and doing that.
I think I showed y'all a picture last time of one that we got there. There's a lady friend of mine that lives lives down around Fort Hood down there, and so she has an autistic brother, and these Bigfoot follow them around, I guess, to protect them. They kind of identify, but she found where one had just been abandoned. Evidently, they walked up on it, and the rear end where you skin a deer. Normally, when you skin a deer, you hang it by the head, you know,
Right.
and this right here started at the rear end and had just taken it. Bigfoot has fingernails, people. They're not claws. They're fingernails, but they're sharp and they're big and they're wide. And it just opened up the back end and was just peeling the skin off the rear end, evidently right as she got there. And her dog started. But I don't know if I showed y'all on that. I'll try to make it a point to show y'all next time I'm here if we get a chance to come back. And I think you'll be really
I guess.
Oh man, it's amazing for somebody who deer hunts and to see something like that. And then my buddy Randy Crawford, one of his first encounters he's one of my research partners as well, and he's leaving, going out the back way. He hears something go thump. So he heads over to see what it was. He wasn't sure. He goes over there, and there's a doe whose head is stuck in between a Y-shaped limb like this, almost like what's called a gambrel, which is what you hang the deer on to skin with. Yeah. And rigor mortis hadn't even set in. I mean, it was just that fresh to kill. So they're pretty interesting animals, but they are, nature's a cruel mistress. You look at them, look at the sharks, look at the fish, look at the birds. Something just about has to die, and I don't like that necessarily, but I don't have much choice about it. We're eating creatures the same way. So Bigfoot does, and it's one of those things that you have to accept. If you got a weak stomach, that doesn't mean you don't have a good heart. But you have a weak stomach, you just, it's one of those things that you're going to come across sometime that's going to really shock you. And that was one. And I showed y'all, I think, Chris, the picture of the 5 hogs there that the Bigfoot had killed. Yeah. And I think I had you, and he turned it over and had ripped all the guts out right there. Yeah. And 2 days later, me and my son go back, and he's picked this 300-pound hog up and just walked off with it. The other 4 hogs are still there. So he's not dead. So really, really an interesting animal. And you just don't know what you're going to get. But that's the thing about it. I've been lucky enough to leave there every time so far, walking and not crawling, not being tossed about 50 yards. Well,
I know you've talked about you've had Dog Man encounter, and I know for a fact you had a Gugway encounter because you have an incredible picture of a Gugway.
Man, it was really strange. This is a place down there. There's at least probably 2 Bigfoot that stay within 50 yards of the road there, where the roadway is. I mean, and that's I've got pictures of both of them. But then this day, it was on May the 3rd in 2020, and I was down at Keith Crabtree's spring camp out. And so I'm leaving, so I had seen a tree structure there, and I wanted to go look at it. When I walked down there, I had just a few extra minutes. I walked down there, and it's a perfect X, and then the top has got the little forks on the side. I mean, it's just perfect. They're that. I don't want to say anal retentive, but they're that impressed with things being the same. So, and I've seen them before like that. So sure enough, I'm down there looking at it, and I look over there coming from the bottoms, and then here comes something on all 4s, just getting with it. I'm like, well, of course, we got a lot of wild hogs around here, a lot of them. Oh man, there's a wild hog. So anyway, I'm sitting there looking at that, and he runs towards me, and then he kind of levels off. And he's going parallel to me, and I'm like, that's a Bigfoot. He's on all 4s. I've never seen. I've seen a Bigfoot one time that has got down on all 4s with me and Cindy and Reese that night that was down there. And matter of fact, about a mile from the same place. And he was walking. He went down on all 4s, took up, and stood up again, and took off. But this one stayed on all 4s. Well, then I said, well, man, that's a Bigfoot. Of course, I was losing light. So anyway, whenever I go down, I decide I'm gonna get a picture, and I've got my flip phone already out. And so I'm going to go over there. And whenever I do, I come to a big old log that's laying there. And you can see, and the log has got these spider feet roots. And this Gugway has got his head stuck here just like this, just waiting on me to come by. And I thank goodness I saw it. It was just I almost say divine intervention, because he meant to hurt. There's no doubt. Gugway does not have a good attitude.
Well, you showed us. You took us by when we were down there where that
I did, didn't I?
You did.
And that right there was just, it was just incredible. And so he's sitting there, and as I stop, and I'm trying to make out, and I know what I'm looking at, but I'm like just trying to figure out the parts, that are logs and head, and if the head is pointed and everything. And then all of a sudden, he turns his head and looks towards his buddy. He's got Bigfoot generally hunts into, so does Gugway evidently. But he takes those ears and he just kind of does those ears like that and goes back to his original position. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I realized then it wasn't Bigfoot. I've never seen Bigfoot. Bigfoot's got ears. Some Bigfoot have ears. They're a little bit on a higher plane of what our ears are, kind of like you see with a gorilla or something like that.
Yeah.
But this was actually like dog type ears. So he wiggled those ears. And whenever he did, I took off. I got my pictures. I got 3 pictures, and I took off running to the truck. Well, I talked to my friend who's a Native American. His tribe also, his Bigfoot is in their quote lore, but just because it's quote lore or legend doesn't mean it's not true. All it means is something that it's hard to verify. There's all kinds of legends. I mean, we got living people now that are legends. It may not be based on that. But anyway, he goes, man, he didn't turn his head, did he? And I said, yeah. He goes, man, he was fixing to kill you. He said he had a hunting partner there with him. I'm like, oh my gosh. And like I said, all I have is a 40 caliber Glock. I sent it to Randy. Randy has 2 monitors on his desk. I said, man, look what I got. So he puts them side by side. He goes, it's definitely there. I said, I know it's there. I said, there ain't no doubt about that. He said, well, let's go down there tomorrow. I couldn't do it. I had post-traumatic stress, and I have been doing that for rats probably 40 years. I take about 43 years. And I couldn't go. And I was scared to death. I mean, when I even thought about it, just kind of shivered like that. So my son had bought me a new gun coming up for Father's Day. Had bought me a 45-70 rifle, which you can shoot lengthwise through a doggone buffalo. And so when that came in, I felt a little better. Some of the fear had gone, and so me and Randy went down there. We took about 50 or 60 pictures, found 17-inch footprints down there. We found a couple of they actually build structures, man, where they actually get in. I think sometimes they sleep, but I think sometimes they're actually hiding and using those things as structures so they can jump out and and kill their meals and stuff like that. So we went down and did all that and come back and placed the pictures side by side and everything we had. And of course, it was just so that Gugway was real. I was kind of you hear all these stories about about the different kind of Bigfoot, but it doesn't make sense that we've got all these different kind of dogs, but they're still dogs. You've got Bigfoot there, but then also there can be different kinds of Bigfoot, and there is. And this dude right here has got a bad attitude. And they say if the original Fat Monster story is of a 3-toed animal, and then as you find later on, the Gugway communicate by whistling, and this right here was also whistling. And,
well, I have to say real quick, like you have the picture to back it up. Like there is no doubt when you showed us that picture, and I'm telling you folks and watching chat, it's not even a blurry picture. Like Bigfoot, the blurs and all that. There's no circling. It's obvious. And the first thing when we saw it, we're like, oh my God, that's a Gugway. Like holy cow.
Yeah, see, and I didn't have the experience with them, just like you don't have, I don't have as much experience with Dog Man. I've seen Dog Man, but I don't have as much experience with him as I do Bigfoot. But seeing that Gugway like that and the way he acted, folks, I believe with all my heart he was going to kill me. I just happened to luck out on that deal right there. And so now I don't go to the wood. I go armed, but I don't go without something that's big enough to, I'll shoot him full of holes and stick a water hose in his mouth and stick him in my front yard and use him as a daggum water sprinkler, because he's not going to get to kill me without me at least putting up some kind of fight or with my family too. But that one Steve and I first went to Mercer Bio down there, 2 of them came running up on us, and they were actually whistling and doing the same thing we said. And then we later on got to find the 3-toed track. So it's really Gugway is real as well. And like I said, that one's kind of scary because we don't have as much experience. Most people who have experience with Gugway didn't live to tell about it.
Exactly.
That's just the truth. I'm not trying to scare you, but they just didn't live to tell about it.
That's one too.
So when you've got that right there, not knowing what to do, they say, Bigfoot comes by, just stand still, watch him. He'll stand still. He'll watch you. And they do. Boy, Bigfoot, they're like I said, they can outstare the Mona Lisa. You find them stand on those wood line, they'll just sit there and stare. I've had one called Blackie. I showed y'all there. It has a 5-foot wide shoulders. He and I sit there and stare at each other for 7 minutes, just rocking, just back and forth, But then, they say you see Dog Man, just kind of just be patient and see, you may have to shoot him, to dissuade him, or you may have to try to kill him. They say if you see Gugway, it's time to start shooting because he's going to try to kill you.
Yeah, because there's no, you or him at that point with the Gugway.
That's right. That story from LBL, we got Martin there. Martin Gross, what a great story he's got there. And Martin, he was just terrified. And me and Gary Spikes were up there one night at LBL, and there was one up on the hill whistling at me and Gary Spikes Sr. there. I said, Gary, we got a Bigfoot up there whistling. Sure enough, one comes
Gary's in chat. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gary's there.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Hey, Gary. And so it comes walking around as me and Steve are getting in the truck where it's snowing. Man, I'm hearing the Bigfoot walking around our daggone tent. And I went to get my gun, and I have my rifle, but I had left my shells in the side compartment of Steven's truck. I'm like, I guess I'm going to have to try to pistol whip him, but
yeah.
But anyway, it was not cool, but we got
what part of the LBL were you guys at when that?
Let me see. I'm not real familiar with it. I've only been that one time, and I had a chance to go this Thanksgiving. I got some friends that are going from Mountain View, Arkansas, going to LBL, but I've got family coming in for Thanksgiving that I don't get to see very often. It wasn't but about 5 miles, maybe by road, where you go to the bison range. There's a bison range, and so you turn, if you go down by there and you turn to your right, and you go down to where the it's not a ramp of a pocket.
It's a little further southern.
Yeah. And so, but man, that was to find out that Gugway's real. I'm like, oh great, now I need that, Dog Man stuff. But me and Steven, I think that Gugway is getting is doing all the bad work, and the Dog Man is getting all his bad press because we got pictures of 4 or 5 Dog Man. I showed y'all them some, but they don't all look like. We got one man that looks like a big hyena. The one that Steven and I got walking up the hill there looks like a big old hyena. Then we got a couple there's got the longer ears to them and everything else like this. And then we got some tracks of the Dog Man. They're 6 inches wide and boy, just huge. But this one I told you that Steven has gotten here. When y'all get a chance to see it, it's as big as a man's hand, and those fingers are probably 3 to 4 inches long or so. So really, knowing that there's different kinds of them, that's the good thing. Everything we know they're real, but knowing exactly what kind of real they are. Everybody says, well, it's a cross between a female human and some kind of male unknown primate. Well, I used to buy that, but I don't anymore. I think Bigfoot is just Bigfoot. Bigfoot is he doesn't have to cross with anybody. When you see one, he's king of the hill. He's boss of the mountain, like what they call it almost. So we don't have to try to figure that stuff out. Whatever it is the real thing. And so that's it's a good thought. But again, we just don't know. Even with that right there saying wasn't between a human female and an unknown male primate. Well, then what do we know? We don't know absolutely nothing. What kind of unknown male primate? And that's fine with me. They're some very smart people that go through the DNA. Yeah, exactly. A little twisted says a species of their own. They're their own. And so they don't need any kind of other classification from us. But they're so intelligent. When they walk up and they just sit there and just look at you, and they're sitting there looking at you a long time before you ever know they're there till you feel those eyeballs on the back of your neck and that hair starts standing up and you turn around and you know exactly where to turn. That's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah.
You know exactly what direction to turn.
Yeah.
And so to have that right there. And so that's pretty doggone scary. But the things that they do, like I said, I've been fortunate to see several at the same time in the same group. We saw 7 in one group there, got pictures of it. We saw 5 in another group, 3 in another group. And they were just as caring for each other, especially when I saw the 2 brothers before I saw the group of 7. I told y'all, and they were walking down the edge of the wood line, Stevens Lake, and the wind's blowing real hard. And so it mutes the sound of his engine. And I was just creeping along. So I went to Fix to Go Park, same place where we got the picture of the mama and the baby on her shoulder right there. But I wanted to see if she left us any tracks. So I walk up there, and when I get to this berm, it just kind of lifts up there to keep the erosion away. There's the 2 Bigfoot, the 2 7-foot twin brothers walking in. So it was cool because that's the sighting I had always wanted to have. Everybody wants that. And they're sitting there when they're walking down. One of them actually reaches up. The one on the right actually reaches up and shoves the other one with his left hand, kind of pushes him away from him like they were telling a bad joke or something other like that. Well, then when they heard Stephen coming up, like I said, with that truck, he drives that dually being a logger. Well, then maybe they step into the woods. And so I'm just laughing. Stephen goes, "Oh, no." I said, "Oh, yeah." And he had missed a sighting a couple of years ago there. And by being a little bit late, well, sure enough, he missed this one. Well, I had a good laugh at it. But anyway, as he and I go down to set the SD cards on the cameras and put out the batteries, and right if we get through setting one camera, we don't even get 50 feet away, and that camera's already going off. It was a camera that has this this deal where you see it sends it over your cell phone there. Well, sure enough, look it up there, and there's a Bigfoot sitting right there. And he's kind of on his knees. He's not about 5 or 6 foot tall, but he's got his hand like this, and he's looking over towards. I guess he heard the camera go off, and he's got a Snickers bar in his hand. That's what y'all know. That's what we bait him up with.
Mm-hmm.
And so there he is, and you can see the glint of the hair.
Mm-hmm.
You see the leg bent like this, and then you can see how long that foot really is on that little joker. So then we get the next picture, and while Steve and I are going to the next camera, and there's 6 more already has come out in the field. Right there. So we've got those that are standing there. I mean, just like I said, so blessed to have something like that. And they weren't aggressive towards us. They weren't like, oh man, let's get here, let's go get these guys. They just wait us out. And whenever we started coming back up the hill, they had already disappeared. But very, 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 very interesting. Again, I had seen 3 out there in the field that week. And I was setting out a camera on my truck, and I had dropped the camera. So whenever I bent down like that, I was looking to the right, and I see these 3 heads pop up there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh yeah, this was cool. And so
That's
anyway,
awesome.
I get my cell phone camera ready, and just as soon as I come up, I just took a picture, and you can see the 3 heads, out there, and they get the surprisers got the surprise as far as that goes. But it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because once they realized they were being seen, down they go, and so
Yeah.
So I've been very fortunate, like I said, folks. That has nothing to do with the fact you're not going to find a harder worker than me as being a Bigfoot researcher. There may be some better, but you're not going to find anybody who works any harder.
Right.
And we just was getting rewarded for preparation met opportunity, and so I was able to get some good pictures. And that's what we do. We get out there, and Stephen's got them living on his property.
And I do have to say, like you said, you had mentioned earlier, you're not going to find anybody more honest than you either. And honestly, like when we were doing this conference and we were talking about people, it's like we picked by, number one, we like them.
Yeah.
Number 2, I mean, like their integrity and everything. I mean, it's just, and you are that guy. For sure.
Well, I appreciate those nice words, folks.
Yeah.
I feel the same about y'all. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not trying to make a name for myself. I said, this is, it's just something that I enjoy sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever, it's like whenever you become a Bigfoot researcher and you get a picture, it's almost like somebody who's got pictures of their grandbabies. That gives you the right to whip out that camera and show them.
Right.
If it's in the middle of church service, man. So. And I've been guilty of that a time or two. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and said,
Yeah.
For sure.
This week, so I pull the picture up and just kind of slide it back there to my back. And, but it does happen. Am I obsessed? Yes, but it's a subject worth being obsessed about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that certainly shows in your research that you love it so much. But I do have a question. Backstage before the show, we were talking about deer hunting and stuff, and how the deer don't really move too much when it's warm.
Yep.
But when it's colder, they kind of move around. Is that the same thing with Bigfoot, you think?
Yes, I do, and I think that's kind of a symbiotic relationship that they have there, because right now our Bigfoot are behind. Normally, I start getting Bigfoot sightings about October, about the 1st of October, middle or second week in October, something like that. I'll start having a whole lot more encounters, that are verbal encounters, and I'm getting a lot of people that are calling me. But the encounters that they're getting, man, we got something out beside the house that's out there just screaming to beat the band, and they said, could it be Bigfoot? I said, yeah. I said, because Bigfoot, everybody I've talked to this year said the same thing. Right now we've had some days last week that were about 90 or 91 degrees, man, and here it is, November. And now they're not the kind where the sun's so close it just bites you. But still, I mean, you can tell we're not supposed to have that kind of warm weather. Yeah. And so what that does, I think, when the deer are not moving, the Bigfoot they're the forest janitors. All these guys in here, if you've ever seen people, they can't be patient. When they see a deer, they got to shoot it. And if they shoot it and wound it, then the deer was going to die, but generally the Bigfoot are going to find it, and they're going to go and clean this up, and they're going to use it with their family. So that's exactly the reason why I think Bigfoot is that way. When the deer are not moving or the hogs are not moving, then there's no reason for them to actually just get out and walk around. And my research proves that, actually it really does. That whenever it's hotter like that, and your deer are not moving, your food's not moving. That's the reason a lot of people get more sightings at night. It's not because they're necessarily nighttime creatures. My last 8 sightings have been daytime sightings. But what you're getting right there is that's the time that when their food is more active. You got the smaller animals and things like that. I've got an armadillo raised in my yard every night that's got a very short lifespan coming up pretty soon. If I can just get out there and catch it, he is doing some damage. But they get up there. And so with these animals like that, when they're moving around, that's the reason Bigfoot are more active at night like that. But they're really not. Like I said, they, a lot of people, I don't know what they are. A lot of people classify them as apes. And if they are, that's good. If it ain't as good, it ain't going to change the way I do things. But on something other like that right there, people say, well, apes can't see in the dark. Well, whether they can or not, they also say apes can't swim. But I'll tell you what, Bigfoot will hit the water in no time flat.
Right.
And we've seen that a couple of times, and had Maxie, me and Stephen had one night that was trying to sneak up on us up a creek, and we were sitting on top of the bridge. And when we did, I went over to get something out of Stephen's truck and had my flashlight or my spotlight wrapped around my wrist, and it accidentally swung back over towards the water. And when it did, you hear this Bigfoot just taking off, running away from us like that. Me and Stephen just looked at each other. We were fixing to get one of them surprise visits that I don't think we were either one of us going to be ready for.
So I have a question about that. So like going through the water and things like that, Bigfoot. Now, I'm in Missouri. Missouri, we do not have alligators, so I don't know a lot about them. Why don't the alligators get them?
I think there might be some big alligators that can maybe latch on to a Bigfoot, but if you see a full-grown Bigfoot, I think that full-grown Bigfoot can make pretty short work of that alligator. I showed y'all the picture of the one I've got there as a 7-footer. Me and Reese had him down there for years, and he was right there on a bend in the creek, and he had his slide up there and everything. When we come down there one day, he wasn't there. And that's the first time during that time of year that we hadn't seen that gator in 7 years. And I said, Reese, I said, something's done got that gator. Well, I looked, in this creek, there was a lot of this like coontail moss and stuff like that. Well, you could see a big trail going through the coontail right over there to where the gator slide was. Yeah. And so he said, you really think he really got that alligator? I said, well, I don't know. So I was kind of kidding. I said, but I certainly think it's possible. We're there about 4 days later in the woods right across from where that gator slide is. And we find the skeleton of this gator has no meat left on it. It's been picked clean. Now the head is broken off and gone. And we find a set of scutes, which is those little square things you see on an alligator's back and skin sitting right there in the same place. And I said, I told you so. And man, I got pictures of that, that it looks like a xylophone. And you can see there, old Sheely out there in Florida. I think his last name's Sheely, Dave Sheely. Yeah. But he's got a picture of a gator skeleton as well that one is picked up and eaten like that. But we found one also August the 26th in 2020, that had actually, there was a gator in Marshall Bayou down there where, we went that night. It was really far down. I mean, and you could just walk all the way across it. And so as we're walking down there to the water to see if we find any Bigfoot tracks, and sure enough, we come across the gator tracks, and you can see the tail drag where the tail's dragging along. You see their hands are they got like 4 claws on that. Well, anyway, when we turned around and went back, and sure enough, we had missed coming out of the woods. There is a Bigfoot track that goes over behind this doggone alligator. And he picks this alligator up, and the alligator track disappears, and the Bigfoot track gets about 200 or 300 pounds heavier. And so this, like I said, hey, that's the truth. I mean, what kind of animal can actually, control an alligator? And I'm not, folks, like I said, I'd send it to you if I had my doggone phone and had Cindy here to help me, but I'm computer illiterate and an idiot, so I can't do it. But you'll just have to take it.
That's amazing.
Oh, it is,
that's
man.
Amazing.
And so I think that's one reason. Like I said, now big gator could, it might be a pretty good fight, but Bigfoot is so strong. He's so robust. Like I said, the shoulders that Blackie I told you about, Blackie's shoulders, no joke. Me and Daniel went this year down there where Blackie is, and he's reaching through that tube, getting those apples there in the back. His shoulders are 5 foot wide. Blackie's over 10 foot tall, and I mean it's just pure muscle. What's going to do anything with him? If Bigfoot locks in on him, if alligator locks in on Bigfoot, just snap that head, and then he's got gator tail for supper, but he just don't have the opportunity to cook it. But
his family for months.
I mean, we got gators around here that'll just blow your mind. And Marshall Bayou, where this all happened at, like I said, that's there's a bunch of them down there.
That's where we went that night.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of gators out there.
Yes, there sure was. And so, I mean, they're one of the prime predators also patrolling the rivers there like that. But Bigfoot is such an opportunistic feeder. Folks, I found, that he's been seen in ladies' flower gardens of all things. I've seen where they've gotten deer, where they have gotten ducks. I've got a story of a guy who actually we had started a new deer lease, and so my son actually made the mistake of telling them that I'd seen Bigfoot. And I did not want him, because it was a new deer lease. I'm like, I'm gonna get kicked off before I ever get there. So sure enough, the guy walks up to me. His name's David. I can't remember his last name because of this stupid concussion. But anyway, David goes, "Your son tells me that you've seen Bigfoot." I'm like, "Oh gosh." I said, "Reese," and he goes, "No, no, no." He said, "Don't get mad." He said, "Because I believe I can tell you where you saw that." And I said, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah." And so he tells me, and he's within a mile of where this guy saw this Bigfoot, and he had killed a duck. And he used to be like me. When it was too far to drag a boat, I'd take a rod and reel. I'd take a topwater bait, throw it over there. You try to hook my duck, roll him on back in. Sometimes you get lucky, catch a bass. Sometimes you get your duck. Well, he was walking across the levees then, trying to go get his duck. And when he walks across, this Bigfoot has just entered the water. It's about waist deep, and it has his duck, and it's got his mouth open, and it looks at him. Of course, he's got duck shot. Duck shot's no more than a G and BBs there and loaded inside of one of them shells. That's what you and they number the shells, the shot based on how big it is, like buckshot. She was pretty good size, like a marble. But anyway, so this Bigfoot has got duck in his hand, and whenever he stops and looks at him, and things just bites the head off. And he said, "Man," he said, "all I have is duck shot. He can have that duck." So he left and went the other way. So I know they eat ducks. I know they eat hogs. I know they eat turtles. We found over 50 turtle shells one time down there. That they were all the meat had been, all the hinges was on the side there to keep the shells from coming apart, were still intact. But all the meat had been scraped out like fingernails and stuff. We found right next to them about 50 what's called blood pincher crawdads, and they'll get to be about 7 or 8 inches tall, and they'll be just as red and black as they can be. It look like a bunch of Christmas balls that had fallen off, the ornaments that had fallen off a Christmas tree. They're right there beside each other, so I know they eat those things. They eat rabbits. One of the most effective calls that we have down here to bring in big is a rabbit call. It's kind of a squeal more than a call. It's just about like that right there, and it gives the alarm deal. And
right.
When they had the Legend of Boggy Creek, as you can tell, that's when I was driving. I didn't have nothing else to do with animal calls, so that's what I tried to work on. But it opens my hands up to not have to carry anything else, like calls and stuff in case I need it. So they at the Legend of Boggy Creek, whenever they were chasing a thing on horseback, when you see this movie, one of the things that they got this thing to answer to was a rabbit call. So. And sadly, they eat dogs. The Missouri monster up there called Momo. It was actually famous for eating cats. And then the Gugway there, the one called the Beast of the Seven Chutes, probably the only. I think my picture's better because
your picture's different kind.
It was a different kind. Yeah, this was not looking at you to be friendly here, like here, take my picture. This one was like, hey, there's something's fixing to happen. You better figure something out. And so this creature was, I think, more aggressive than the Beast of Seven Chutes, and it apparently either had a cat or a dog in its arms. So they say that you can see that. But mine is he was the story behind it. Whenever he actually came up out of that oak bottom and was running towards me, at first I just thought, like I said, I thought it was a hog, then I thought it was a Bigfoot. But then finally I realized he was coming to get me. And that was I talked over with my friend who's a Native American. He said, "Oh, well, there's no doubt about it." He said, "You just, the good Lord's looking after you." And and I agree. So it is. So really some strange things. But the what's on their agenda? We saw one. Me and Ray saw one night out there eating a deer in the middle of a gas line. And so we thought it was the deer itself, but he was squatted down like that. And we saw the eyes right there. So sure enough, we stopped, hit him with the spotlight. All of a sudden, he starts standing up and does that right there. And I'm like, oh, gosh. Well, they had just got through bush hogging this gas line. And so he walks about 10 or 20 feet, and then he ducks down like that. And we can still see the shadow right there. Well, then he stands back up. He goes to another place. He does this 5 or 6 times, and finally he goes to some pine trees and steps underneath the bough. Well, whenever he does, he goes up underneath there, and he's looking at us, and we still got him lit up and everything. We went back the next day, and we found a roadkill deer. Not roadkill, but somebody had dumped a deer, or else maybe he had killed himself, but he was actually eating that deer over there. So they eat deer. The first one I ever saw was actually eating leaves like he was sick. He actually had his hand over the the limb like that right there and was eating the little berries that were on there. And then whenever we sit there and have that little miniature stare down, well, finally he's like, I'll get this guy out of here. So he just starts raising. He gets the doggone limb to about 6.5, 7 foot, and he keeps standing up. So he has some more standing to do. And I am freaking out because I can see the long fingers. Daggum fingers come down to like here where my hand is on, where my other fingers are on my hand right there. So he sits there and he walks out there and, like I said, stares like that right there. Then a little bit he goes back. Well, I talked to one of the guys there from one of the TV shows there, and he said, "Well, man," he said, "do you reckon he could have been trying to treat himself for an illness like a dog does when he eats grass?" Man, I never even thought about that. That was a great insight.
Yeah,
that was a really great insight by the other guy. And I thought, well, man, I never really thought about it. I said, that's like asking, whether the pit bull that's fixing to bite you, whether he was raised on Purina or Old Roy. It really don't matter. So that was a pretty insightful thing, and I'm gonna give him credit for that deal right there. So they do what the things that they eat are just some turtles, man. They'll eat turtles. They'll eat snakes. We found 1 year down there, we didn't find a snake for 6 months, and it was hot. And there are some cottonmouths down there, man, as long as you doggone leg. Yeah. We didn't find a snake for 6 months. And me and Reese call it swamp spaghetti because we were, before we were finding snakes. And then Randy had the one that left him a cottonmouth right there by a mud puddle, and then left that part right there by his truck when he stepped in the truck. So they'll eat snakes, just what. Wow. But they're really, really an adaptable animal. And the tooth pattern that y'all have seen from me that you saw were the ones biting my camera. He's got 4 big teeth right here, just like I got. And then he's got a face right here. It's called the primate space. My son's a dentist. He told me that. I didn't know it, but he told me. And so then you got the space. And right next to the outside, there's a canine tooth that's about this much longer than the rest of the teeth. It's not like the baboons. You got them big old fangs hanging down like that, but it's that much closer. And so it's the same way. Well, that allows them to do a lot. It allows them to, like molars allows them to crunch. It allows them to spear their food. So they're very, very adaptable with what they can eat with. And this, like I said, go ahead.
I was just going to ask real quick, what do you think, you mentioned the cottonmouths, they're highly venomous.
Yep.
Why do you think that they're immune to them? Because they got to get bit at some point.
Well, sure. And people say, well, they can kill a man. Why can't they kill a Bigfoot? And I'm sure they can. It could be that they got bit enough as infants that they developed like these people who take the anavenin, and they take little bits at a time, and then pretty soon they're immune. Well, it could be like that right there, and it could just be something in their blood. We just don't know what it is, but they are highly venomous. My dog that y'all met up here the one time, she got bit. He's been bit twice in the last year, $1,800 a pop to take him to the anavenin. But he's such a good dog, you don't let. I wouldn't do it to any of my dogs. He's such a good dog. Had to take him to the all-night vet clinic and then drive back twice to Shreveport within 5 hours, which is 80 miles away. Wow. But they are so venomous. And my dog's head looked like a daggum orangutan. It had swollen up so much because the tooth got stuck in his mouth. And every time it had the poison pack. So every time he bit, it would squeeze his head. So his head would just pumping up like that.
You got that right there behind your house. So they're coming up from there. Yeah.
Yep. Coming up from that point. So it's really, I think it may affect them, but I think it depends on what time they, whatever time in their life they get bit. A friend of mine has got a bunion right here on his toe, like most bunions curve right there on the side of the foot. I know he don't wear shoes. Most bunions come from shoes, so that could have been from a snake bite, years ago and stuff like that. So, so it's really hard to say, but boy, they're a resilient animal and tough as a Tar Heel boot, So
I wouldn't want to mess with them,
and maybe they are immune to them, to the venom, in them.
Like I said, it could be just from like the gradual bites, and it could be for just something that they have until we, we find more about it like that right there. Man, I couldn't, even that mosquito bites, man, I couldn't live out in the doggone hot summertime in the swamps like they do. That's the first thing my wife asked me when me and Reese took her down there to the Bigfoot woods, and she goes, well, she said, is there going to be mosquitoes down there? I said, yeah, be snakes. Be mosquitoes. I said, you ain't got to worry about the snake. She said, well, what about the Bigfoot? I said, there's going to be Bigfoot down there, but you just ain't got to worry about the mosquitoes. She came home and she put on her, like if you read my book, like a cheap hooker does perfume. She was going to get carried off. It was not going to be mosquito because she was fixed up. They wasn't going to get their chance to from that part right there. But so it really is funny. I'm sure a lot of the fish and animals down there on Mercer Bayou eat the wasp nest. Wasp nests will grow to be the size of a 12-inch phonograph record. You have all these wasps. But inside there, those little parachutes, there's this larva. Well, man, like I said, we
Mm-hmm.
get those and we pull them apart and use them for fish bait. And boy, I mean, they're just, so I'm sure Bigfoot, knows they're there and, and eats them too, and it's like bears getting honey, sometimes the price is worth the pain, so
Yeah.
so they are, so they're really, really adept. Good Lord is taking care of them in a way that, and they love berries. I know we have down here what's called beauty berries. It's a little bitty purple berry about probably this big around, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have what's it's like a blackberry, but it's not blackberry. It's called dewberries, and we find lots and lots of tracks in there around those dewberry thickets like that right there. So they love to eat berries. There's there's not enough food for Bigfoot to eat around here. Please, man, Bigfoot. They can eat basically anything that we can't eat. I've got a friend that swears up and down he found a Bigfoot tooth bite out of some mushrooms, and I believe we got a lot of those wild mushrooms grow around here.
Yeah,
and you can see the teeth marks where it bit into it. So whether he swallowed it, I don't know. But,
wow.
So it's really cool, guys.
Yeah.
I feel so fortunate because, and to have good researchers. We all share our information with each other, and so. Things that I don't know, they know, and and things that I forget, or I had one of my researching friends there. She reminded me that we're talking about hair, and so she said, do you not remember that polar bear hair is clear? I'm like, duh, yeah, I learned that in grade school. Well, polar bear hair is clear; it's not white, but evidently it can be bent through the the spectrum of light and something like that. So again, really, really interesting creature, and some people get mad at me for calling it a creature. I call it that because I know it's not the creator, so he is a creature just like we are, and I don't say that any kind of
creatures.
Exactly,
I don't know what they are.
That's right. I'm not any kind of being disrespectful or anything else like that, but he is one of the created rather than the one who did the creating. So, it's really neat, and I get to do a lot of research. I found some this last week here. I've got a barn dinner where my deer lease is. I found about a 13-inch track and about an 8-inch track, and then I heard him about a week and a half ago. We got a big old about 2 weeks ago, I guess. We got a big slough that runs through there, and heard him down there just with a real long bell tone housing, man. I just froze, I'm like, oh, good. And you can't help yourself, even though you know what it is. You're gonna start looking around and see, if he's anywhere close by,
or they are close by.
Oh yeah, exactly right. They're close by. Yeah, exactly. So and then that sounds like a bunch of Who Shot John, but it's not, folks. When you're in an area, Arkansas has got them. The place I live there at Texarkana is close to the bayou, to the river, Sulphur River, Red River. I've got an Indian friend that lives there, and he wants to be called an Indian. He don't want to be called a Native American. He wants to be called an Indian. He's proud of his heritage. And I said, man, got to see him. I said, what have you been doing? He goes, he said, just watching the Bigfoot walk by. And I said, what are you doing? He said, down there fishing my same place. He said, I'll be down there fishing. He said, they know I'm there. They walk by and they watch me. He said, watch for a little while and take off, So that's really, really, and I found that. Go ahead,
and they probably realize that he's not much of a threat to them, so they'll just kind of walk on. All right.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
I've only had the couple there that have been aggressive with me, and I think one might have been because it was springtime and it might have had spring fever or whatever it was, and then the one there that I was with my pit bull down there, and I think they don't necessarily like black dogs. They don't like pit bull dogs, and because this dog here was just either whether it thought it was going to get to eat my dog Tippy or what. I had already disabused him of that thought for sure. So I had about 3 guns in a bucket, and actually to get him to go away though, finally had to hit my fob on my truck because he'd already come down the hill that he was standing on top of, and that horn started. Well, by then, whenever I think she realized he got scared or got disoriented, and then she got more brave. She kind of. But then I went and got her put in the truck. Opened up the truck. She jumped over my seat and the console at the same time and landed in her seat. She had a bag of Cheetos over there. She didn't get the first bite of Cheetos. She just sit there and just started just quivering. And I didn't take long to start the truck. I called my son in Memphis at the dental school, and I said, "Well, down here at Thornton's Well, we just had one get after me and Tippy." He goes, "Don't you get my dog killed?" I'm like, "Well, he's going to kill me first, and that's the way I feel about it. Y'all know how I feel about my dog."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yes. So anyway, so I would not let that happen. But I've seen dead dogs down there that in my own forensics, and I'm no forensic deal. You're not going to see me on CBS or whatever their forensic show is. But I've spent a lot of time in the woods looking at animals, and like I said, these dogs have been killed by something that's very, very powerful. And it's awful sad to me, man. I get sad when I see one on the side of the road and it's been hit like that.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's no way. Yeah, that's
No.
we have a few questions if you don't mind
All right.
our
You'd
answering
love
some
to,
of these.
please. Yep.
So T-Bone asked, this was from earlier in the show.
Okay.
William, seems you have seen the spider crawl.
Yes, I have seen the spider crawl. I certainly have. And I've actually got right there one that I think I've told you about before, but I've got the one there where he's in front of my camera.
Mm-hmm.
He's laying down in front of my camera. We've got a Snickers bar there, and it was impaled on a stick. And he is actually, you can see where his body, where he made the spider crawl to go over and get it. But then I've also seen the spider crawl when one is trying to get away. Whenever the dog man, as that we saw this one year, that me and Stephen were there, and there were three. It was leading 3 Bigfoot up the hill. And so all of a sudden, when the dog man just kind of slows down and stops, well, man, sure enough, these Bigfoot just squat down, and you can see them, just like I said, doing the spider crawl just to get away.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a little young dog man. He went and got underneath a leaning log there to try to hide. And then there's a mother over there on the other side, a mother Bigfoot, and she's got probably about a 5 foot tall juvenile there, and she's pushing the juvenile down the edge of the tree line to get away from this dog man or these Bigfoot. I guess she knows more, gets the thought that maybe something's going to happen more than, what we thought. But I have seen the spider crawl, and the spider crawl is real, folks. It is. There's a guy, his name's Green. I can't remember what his, but I actually saw, I never got to see all the episodes of Finding Bigfoot, but he was on Finding Bigfoot over there in North Carolina I think it was Uwharrie. And a Bigfoot came up and leaned across this doggone limb, did the spider crawl, and got a candy bar off this stump. And when I saw that, I just died laughing. I hollered at Cindy, come here. So, look, that would both just had a big laugh because I didn't know anybody ever had that recorded. But I've got that picture, that one right there. I mean, he's a whopper, And so you see these things and you're just like, oh my gosh, man. So go ahead, give me the next question. I'm good.
And this one's really interesting to me too. Have you ever experienced mind speak?
T-Bone, I tell you what, I don't know that I have. Like I said, I've had the times there when I'm sitting there and I'm like, there's something staring at me. And like I told you, when you turn around and start looking, you immediately go to every time I've done it, I immediately go to the place where the thing is standing right there to look at. Now, if you want to call that mind speak, that would be a yes on that one. But as far as actually communicating me a message, no, we went last year. There was one of my good friends from up here in Arkansas, and he can do mind speak. And so we're down there at this place down there. It's called Long Slough. And I had seen Bigfoot down there several times, had him come up. And so we get down there that night, and so I do a call, and it's just like a barred out call, and it's like some people call it "Who Cooks for You?" Just like the throat's kind of sore. You'll have to excuse that. But I've had this TMJ, can't quite. Yeah. But anyway, so we're sitting over there, and my friend is sitting there, and we got about 8 people standing there. And he puts his hand. He said, "What?" I said, "Well, what are you doing?" He said, "No, wait." He said, "Will," he said, "you've got a Bigfoot across the bayou there, and a little slough right there." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I've seen him several times." He goes, "He's asking me." He said, "Why don't you ever talk to him?" And man, and this is the honest truth. We got it on video there with a friend of mine from Shreveport that actually has a TV camera. A guy named Brian Horn. He's actually got this on film. And I said, "I don't know how to speak to Bigfoot." He said, "This Bigfoot's name is Laolin, Laolin, Laolin." And said, "He says he talks to you all the time, and you don't ever answer him." And I said, "I don't know how to talk to Bigfoot." He said, "Well, we talked about the feeling on the back of your neck and stuff like that." I said, "Yeah." I said, "But you get that when you're out there in the woods, anyway, it's dark, when the coyotes go or something else like that." And he said, "This is supposed to be your personal protector, Bigfoot." And like I said, this is a man, he would not lie to me and hurt me intentionally for any way, shape, form, or fashion. I trust his character, trust his wife's character. He's just a good guy. But evidently he has a set of skills that I don't have. Same way Robin McCrae can do that. But then they don't get as many visuals as what I get. I mean, I get most of mine are visuals, and I'm not that that's any kind of special deal with me or anything, but I think maybe they trust me enough to, even with a gun. Me and Stephen got pictures this year in February there. And there's a Bigfoot about 20 foot in front of us right there inside the wood line there. And I've got my gun and got my little chartreuse shirt on, my black and my gray and orange hat. And he's sitting there leaning out the tree, just looking at it, just like there. I've got the gun right here in my hand and got one like that 2 years ago. So they know I'm not going to hurt them. So if that's the case, maybe that's their way of trying to communicate with me. Maybe that's the way they can communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd rather see them than mind speak with them myself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, when you see one, it changes your life. I told y'all before,
Absolutely.
you can drive a peg right there, 1977. There's my life before that, and there's my life after that. And when you see them, and you realize, gosh, what a lucky guy. And most people that I talk to, I've interviewed over 200, about 225 now, and they said, man, I feel so lucky, but I don't ever want to see another one. I'm like, oh, yeah, you do. Yeah, don't be tough. Don't admit it. Right. You do. Say, yeah, but I want to see him from a distance. I'm like, well, I'm kind of that way myself. I
distance is fine. That's fine with me. Yeah.
So we do. Like I said, we've got a lot of Bigfoot here in Arkansas. And the thing about Arkansas, people say, well, you're crazy. You got just that fountain monster. No, we actually have something similar to the Loch Ness monster called the White River monster. Mm-hmm. We have got the longest dinosaur trackway found in the world, called a sauropod trackway in the world, found around Nashville, Arkansas. Had more tracks than any that had ever been found. We actually have what's called crybaby bridges, where you go to these bridges and you get up on those bridges and you can hear the like that right there. It's almost, I think it's either a Bigfoot making noise or it's, I don't think it's a cat. I just think it's, maybe another creek. But then we've also got the daggum ghost lights, where you go out there. Like I said, if y'all, this ghost lights, my nephew's coming in this weekend. If I can get him to help me load that off his phone, that he went that night. But I took 4 guys from Texarkana, Texas high school that were D1 recruits for college football. Yeah. With them and their girlfriends down. These guys are tough. Now I'm telling you, they're tough. They got their girlfriends with them. All of a sudden, these ghost lights start interacting, and those guys are nearly crying, and the girls are the ones that are brave. They're sitting up there. Oh yeah, one of them actually played for the New England Patriots, right behind Tom Brady. He actually got to start for the Houston Texans down there when he came. Wow. He started nice. For the University of Michigan Wolverines in college, and also for the University of Arkansas Razorbacks. And he was one of them. Man, it just blew his mind. He was like 6'7", but some of the other people there. So it was a really, really strange. So Arkansas has got some strange things to it.
I thought you said it was a big time college program, not University of Michigan. Sorry, I had to do it. I had to throw that out, Rob.
Hey, I'm man, sorry. Well, on that deal right there, that was back when they had. I don't care much for their coach right now, but or the one they did have. I mean, he's all right. But I liked the one they had. He came up to me at Texas high school. There, they had this big barn out there. His name is Lloyd Carr, and he walked up, and then he's very, very friendly and very, very, very good coach. He goes, "Which one is your son?" And I told him. He said, "Man, that's a good-looking athlete." And I said, "You down here to recruit?" And I don't want to use the boy's name, but I'll let everybody figure it out. And I said, when I asked him that, he goes, yeah, he goes, he's got the biggest arm that's ever come out of high school football. He said, I just hope that he's going to know what to do with it when he gets to college there. And so anyway, so this was one of the guys right there, like I said, and then one of them was about a 350-pound lineman. The other one was a linebacker that went to start at Oklahoma State as a true freshman. Now, how can you do that? Wow. And so some really, really, and they were scared to death behind these guys. But Arkansas has got all these weird, including, like I said, the Crescent Hotel, like the most haunted hotel in the United States. Yeah. And so to have that right there, so it's not a case of where, what's Arkansas got? Some toothless people just now got their first pair of shoes. No, Arkansas's got some real. I'll take it. I'm a redneck. Y'all know. You know
what? I'm right with you. Well, I have my roots actually come from Arkansas.
Yep.
So and I've still got family there. So
I'm so looking forward to meeting some of the people in Missouri too. I've got a couple of big friends at Bigfoot Hunt. One of them I think is probably the best Bigfoot researcher, one of the best Bigfoot researchers in the world right there, and he's from Missouri up there. So I really enjoy to get to listen.
I'll invite him to the conference.
I need to. That's a good idea. I'll do that. He's been on Travel Channel as well as I have. His show. He had a couple of his friends out there, and they went up there, and sure enough, the Bigfoot got after him that night and ran him out of the woods. He didn't get scared. He's not near as big a man as I am. He's probably about 195. Hey, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, there's my buddy. Hey, buddy, thank you for being here. This guy gets up there and like I said, he's got Bigfoot pushing him and his buddies down the mountain. But he didn't run. He's probably about 165, 175 pounds, but he's all grit of a man. And he's like I am. He's serious about his Bigfoot hunting. And so they got to do a show there on the Travel Channel as well. Him and so he's got a lot of good research. But he's from Missouri. I'll invite him, as a matter of fact, and I'll even pay his way if I have to. But man, and thank y'all for what y'all do for letting that be a benefit. for that right there. There's no better way to, like Keith does, for the kids and everything else like that, and for Miller County down here to have a benefit, because people want to learn. There's more people that are interested. There's some that want to just make a fool of you, but I think if they were truthfully honest, they'd say, I kind of like to know just for sure. And so, but it is real. It's found in every state of the union except Hawaii, to my understanding. But one Duke says somebody's seen one in Hawaii. If so, it was, I don't know. I know Hawaii. All the wildlife they had there for a while was just brought in by these settlers.
Wow.
And the king had all his people coming in to hunt and stuff like that. Yeah. But, they could have brought Bigfoot as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They could have.
And just now getting seen, but they don't have the natural population, like what we have here. But there's I think we've got probably more now in the mountains of Arkansas than we do around the sloughs. But as you get down the sloughs, you get around Texas, you get around all of the big thicket, and then all the Louisiana, you get all the swamps. Yeah. Then Arkansas, right through there, you get the swamps and stuff. But then you get up in the mountains, they tend to be more of they don't have quite as bad of attitude there in the mountains. It's what they have down here. Down here, when you in the sloughs, every time Bigfoot goes to eat, he runs a chance of something hurting him too. Up there in the mountains, it's not quite as bad. Now, they've got bears and things like that, but it's they're, like you said, there's not the alligators and everything else. Hey, when he goes to get a drink, he'll pull back a stub, so
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got about 10 minutes left, but I want to get to a couple more questions here.
Sure.
T-Bone had another one. Has William ever found out why Sasquatch is so hard to get a good picture on digital devices?
Here's what's really funny. That Gugway, if it is a kind or branch of Sasquatch, is just as clear as a bell. I don't know that they, that he has the same set of skills as what, if you forgive me for using that word, as the other Bigfoot do. But I truly believe, and I've got a picture of one that I can show you. That whenever they have the infrasound, and if y'all heard of infrasound down here, like I said, we're rednecks. We call it zapping just to save time, so we can save we can talk a little more. But it zaps you, like I said, like the things do like that right there. But it seems to distort your electronic devices. Me and Stephen went down one night. I had 8 brand new cameras with 8 new batteries in it. Walked down there we left them there through the wintertime. Went to reset them. Sure as we get down there, we hear one scream, and whenever we scream, all of a sudden, all but 5 of those doggone cameras lose all their battery power. And I mean, brand new. I carry hundreds of batteries with me when I'm going to the woods there for my cameras. They all go out. So I'm like, oh shoot! So I go back up there, I get some more batteries, come back, and a couple more of the cameras go down. We reset them. So finally, we get to set those cameras. And but I think a lot of the reason has to do with the infrasound. Now I've got a camera there. If you guys haven't heard me tell you this, I can show you the receipt. I had to go to Dallas, Texas. I've got this camera, and we have another Bigfoot called Brownie. He's about a 9-footer, and he's coming down the hill. And I've got a picture of him just kind of hunkered down like that, and I think the camera goes off, kind of startles him. So I'm like, great. So anyway, I knew what trail to put my camera on. So I went up there and put my camera on this trail right there and stuck it in a daggum brush top. And I kept noticing he was stepping outside when he's crossing. He was stepping outside further than what I had. So I figured, he knows it's there. So he's just jumping across real fast. So I just moved the camera about a foot so that it would increase my range. Sure enough, I go back there and I've got Brownie jumping across the doggone trail. I'm like, So when I do, I go to see him. I got him. So I get this picture of Brownie that that I hadn't tried to it's on the same SD card that I hadn't tried to upload before. I get this picture of Brownie. So then we go to get it, and to make copies. I was making 8x10s of everything. It wouldn't come off the SD card. I'm like, what? And so as a stroke with the good Lord looking after me, our other camera started having trouble. So Cindy carried our other computer started having trouble. So she carried it there. And so she just, as an aside to this computer tech, she goes, have you guys ever heard of cameras on something on SD card getting stuck and you can't pull that picture up? They said, no, we've never heard of that. And so she goes, my husband's got one there that we can't get, so he would sure like have him. She him-hawed around. She didn't want to admit it. Finally, he asked her, what is it? She goes, it's a Bigfoot. I got, you get that stupid look like that right there. And she said, no, my husband's a very well-respected Bigfoot researcher. So he gets a lot of pictures and a lot of real pictures. He said, well, let me tell you what. Bring it in here, let us look at it. So we did. He couldn't get it. So then he said, well, let me tell you what you do. He said, there's a place in Dallas there that is a data retrieval service. And he said it's $159 an hour for a minimum of 6 hours. He said they can get everything you have off of that camera, I promise you. So anyway, he gave me their number and I called them. And then coincidentally, I knew this was going to be good. Coincidentally, when I called and talked to the technician, he goes, well, what's your picture of? And I told him, he goes, man, that is so strange. This is another little strange Bigfoot phenomenon. He said, we were just sitting here talking about a Bigfoot show. They were from Russia, and Russia has what's called the Almasty. That's the Russian Bigfoot. Right. And so they said, man, why don't you just mail it here to us? I said, no, I'm not going to stick it through the mail. I'll drive it up there. I don't want to get lost. And I said, what do you think the chances are y'all going to lose it on the SD card? He goes, well, we're certainly going to try not to. And he said, he told me what the price was. And I talked to some of my other friends about it and said, well, what would y'all do? I mean, that's $1,000 right there for a daggum couple pictures of a Bigfoot on an SD card. Yeah. So my wife said, if that's what you want to do. And my friend said, hey, if I had your hobby, I would certainly do it. I spend more than that fishing. I spend more than that duck hunting. I spend more than that, one lady, she was painting nails and stuff. I spend more than that painting fingernails, So sure enough, I did. I took it up there to Dallas and left it with them. And they said, we'll call you back. They called me about 3 days. And the technician goes, and man, when they've got millions and millions of dollars worth of computer and photograph equipment in there. Mm-hmm. And so when they called back, they said, well, I said, man, have we got some good news for you? I said, did you get my picture to come off the SD card? He goes, no, but the picture's still there. We didn't lose it with all the things that we were, the technician services we were doing. Yeah. I said, well, that's about all I can ask for. I said, because that's as much as I had when I started. But then they didn't charge me for doing the services. Yeah, because they both all believed in honesty. She said, well, I believe in honesty. We've never had a chance to see it. Now we have. They had the one where where Brownie's ducked down. Then when he's jumping across the deal. Very, very fair. So I went up there and talked to them and I actually took the camera to make sure it wasn't stuck on just the memory or something to do with the camera. They took that sucker apart. Everything was just perfect. But it is, and they thought, man, is there something that they can do, that some kind of body function like an electric eel? How can electric eel get that much force to where it can actually a crocodile bat it and it kill it? If it has that electrical impulse that comes from this infrasound. But anyway, so that's my opinion. But that's the truth. I've got that picture of Brownie jumping across there, and you can see he is just massive. And then you can see him down there squatting down. But sure enough, it would not come off there, and that's proven technically by millions and millions and millions. And these Russian people were very, very intelligent. It's one thing that Russian has. They have some very intelligent people, and they had no reason to lie to me. They didn't have the background in Bigfoot to sit there and know what to do. So I do. That's exactly what I think. It has to do something with that infrasound. The other one I have is where every picture up there to where this Bigfoot is standing is right side up. It's perfectly clear. In my next picture, you've got this Bigfoot standing right there. The picture is blurry, and every picture I get on that camera after that, and the camera is not moved. Every picture I get is upside down after that right there. So it has to have something to do, because when you see him, he's blurry. He's right there. He's 2 foot in front of the camera, and he's blurry. But so that's my opinion. Like I said, it makes as much sense as anything. But I'm telling you, based on what I've seen and having that camera up there and that SD card, and then my other cameras with the batteries getting blown all the way out. You hear people talk about it all the time. But man, all of a sudden my batteries went down. Had one down on the Sulphur River one night that actually came down, hit him with the infrasound. All our spotlights and flashlights went down. But Risa bought me a doggone the FLIR. So anyway, whenever it did, the FLIR went through there, and you had that the red light that goes through there. And whenever it does, as soon as it hits him, and he comes to the daggum right to the edge of the water and just like that right there. And said Sasquatch. And so anyway, he ducks up there, and he didn't make as much of an audio deal as I did, but he had his mouth open like that. He went up the hill, stopped at halfway, turned and looked at us again. Then he got to the top of the hill and did the same thing again. But it only whenever that red light hit him, did he actually come towards us. So I know they can see that kind of light that you get right there. Infrasonic, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people call it different things. I said him from Arkansas. A lot of people just the red light. But anyway, so I do believe that. But they can manipulate your electrical stuff, and there's no doubt in my mind. And I don't know what it is. Just a skill the good Lord gave them that we don't have, and I don't understand.
There you go.
And a lot of people don't understand it. So
yeah,
this has been pretty awesome, Will. And you guys, if you think this was interesting, check out his book. You can do a Google or do a search on Amazon under William Lunsford, and it'll pop right up. Another great Christmas present.
Yep. Thank you for that. You're not going to get gypped. It's 449 pages. I've actually got color pictures in there. So at least 46 of my 40 of these 47 years of research, a story or two, but I've got most of my stuff in there. And then I've got this next book that's going to start where Stephen and I picked up being friends, kind of going through there. So it is, but it's all true stories. Like I said, it's I can give you zillions of references, and when you see it, you're like, oh, man, you know, and I just want to be truthful. That's what people say, well, man, what do you want out of this? I want to be truthful. People to thank you, Ron. And I want people to know that what I'm saying is true, and that I don't want to embarrass my friends like y'all, or my family. I want it to come across as truthful. And so that's my whole thing in doing this thing right here. Every now and then I'd like to gig some of them people that gigged me all them years. Like, oh yeah, that wasn't a Bigfoot. That was a, thank you, Pam. Pam Stefanich. They'll say, that wasn't a Bigfoot. That was one of your ex-girlfriends. Well, you know, I can laugh at myself. And they say, yeah, the funny part was she's better looking than you are. I'm like, well, that's cool too. But anyway, but it is so to have that right there. So again, folks, I appreciate y'all for being here. I do tell y'all the truth.
Yes, we do.
And, like I said, they say the big eye don't lie. The pictures that you see, I said, while some of them may be blurry, some of them are clear. My wife actually got 3 pictures. I think it affects the battery operated cameras that more than it does. Because she has a one of those other kind of cameras, digital camera, and she got a picture of mama and 2 babies there, and that's pretty doggone clear. So, so I've got to hear something. Please, like I said, if you want a good read, not because I wrote it, but if you want to learn something about Bigfoot, man, I've got some great researcher men, like I said, and plus being the years at UPS experience, people telling me their stories. That's going to really, I think, help tilt you towards being a better researcher. And if nothing else, you'll enjoy thinking, oh my gosh, this is a strange world we live in, you know.
It's one of those books where you just don't want to put it down.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you can't sit and read the whole book, but you know, you just can't put it down when you have to get up and go to work or go to bed or something like that.
Well, I appreciate that. Like I said, I think the very most, including shipping, is going to be like $35. It's only, and that's it. I mean, it's going to keep you occupied for a long time. And this next book, I hope, is going to be just as well. I've got some good, some stuff I didn't include in the first book because it would have been like a doggone Webster's dictionary, you know, and I didn't want, or the daggone New York City phone, phone book. So this is going to be, and I think you'll enjoy it. So awesome. Thank y'all for having me. Again, thank you to
anytime, Will. I appreciate you coming on. We still have a bunch of questions over here. I'm going to write all these down. So Will, you're just going to have to come back another time. You know,
I'll do it. I'll be glad to do that. Like I said, if you, I'll be glad to, man. Just hold on to them. And like I said, we'll have a question and answer period instead of me doing all the jabbering next time. And I want y'all to know what I've seen to know that I'm telling you the truth. But then we'll have those there and we'll answer questions as best I can. And I'm not afraid to say if I don't know, I don't know. So, guys, thank y'all. And thanks for everybody for listening, man. For sure.
Everybody tune in over to Donny Cho Says Stuff. He's getting ready to come on. I think a lot of us are going to be going on there. And then tonight at 10 p.m. Central is Beyond. I don't know if it's Beyond BMR or Late Night. I don't know what he calls it. But
hey, that's always good shows, man. You guys put on some good shows, and you're knowledgeable. That's the thing about it. You're knowledgeable.
Thank you.
You know, they're folks. They're going to get their money's worth, and it's free. That's a good thing about it. You don't get nothing for free that's worth that much. But that is, I promise you.
You sure
guys, I will see y'all next time. Y'all petition these people to get me back on, and we'll get back on here pretty soon. And I will see y'all at the conference next year. Remember, Christmas, December 1st, they're going to say, what a great Christmas gift. So,
yes. Thank you, Will.
Hey, thank y'all, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate it. And guys, you all have a great night. Again, make sure you check out Donny Cho coming on right after this, and then BMR Midnight with the ladies at 11 o'clock. So,
and happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Guys, thank y'all. Bye-bye.